Huh?
Hello and namaste to everyone who's listening to us. My name is Anusha Moharjan, and this is Conversations with my UGRAD friend. And today, here with us, we have our global UGRAD alumni, Vishal Rana, for the year 2021. It's so great to have you here with us, Vishal. And I understand that it's only been a couple of weeks since you came back from your exchange semester from the US. So I just want to say welcome back. Welcome home to Nepal.
Thank you so much, Anusha.
So I just want to start off from a personal experience myself. Like, whenever I travel abroad, there's always this curiosity surrounding people asking you where you're from, what kind of culture you are growing up with, your tradition, language, and all sort of things. And I'm sure that during your exchange semester as well, people in the US asked you about that. So I just want to ask you, what were the most common things that people asked you where you came from? And when they did ask this question, how did you respond to that? Did you talk about your culture a little bit? Did you teach a thing or two about it to your American friends or your international friends in the university itself? Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so from the first week of my semester in the US, I was getting continuously asked about where I'm from and all that. And whenever I used to tell them that I'm from Nepal, their reaction would be like, "Oh, where is that?" Because a lot of people don't know where Nepal is. So I was literally telling them Nepal is here, the geography of Nepal, the population, the culture, and all. And they were like amazed. And it was not only those moments, there were like certain moments that stood out. For example, um, like in my classes, for example, in my public speaking class, we had to give speeches every few weeks or so. And I gave a speech on the living goddess Kumari, and my professor was so shook and impressed by my speech. And she told me she had made plans with her husband to come to Nepal,
Wow.
but that got cancelled because of Corona. But hearing my speech, she wants to visit Nepal again and to visit the goddess Kumari. And not only on that class, in other classes as well, I was always that foreign exchange student from Nepal. So if if there was anything that required a different perspective or opinion, I would give it. Like I would be the one giving those because I am Nepali. And as a travel and tourism student, I was telling them a lot about all those tourism aspects, not only Mount Everest, not only Buddha, but all those. We have so much more than that, right? So I was telling them, and hopefully I was a good cultural ambassador from Nepal to them. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully they had this urge to visit Nepal because of me.
Definitely, I think you did wonders as a culture ambassador and as a global UGRAD student in sharing the culture of your country, and of course, inviting them to our home country. I think it's amazing, and I'm just mind blown that you did a presentation on Kumari. Maybe in the future, in person, we can actually hear you talk about it if time favors. So I'd really love to learn more about that. Diving into the next thing, I was meaning to ask you this for a very long time. I think in I think a couple of weeks ago during the Global UGrad question answer information session, you mentioned that it was your first time in US and you participated for the first time in the Pride Parade. And as far as I am concerned, and I know that the Pride Parade are also organized here in Nepal since 2010. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but whenever I see these pictures, they're fascinating, they're mind blowing, they're vibrant, they're so attractive, and it kind of feels like it's a celebration of not fitting into that bracket of being binary, right? So tell us a little bit about your experience in the Pride Parade itself, and what kind of things did you actually learn, and why was it so important for you to participate in it?
So going back, I didn't really knew there were any pride parades in Nepal. But when I was in the US, I was looking for community service volunteering opportunities. So I was Googling that. And on the first page, it showed that St. Cloud, where I was placed in, was organizing a Pride parade. And the Pride parade, it was actually for a whole week. It was a whole week event, but I could only volunteer only on Saturday because of my schedule. So I went there with two of my other Global UGAD friends, and oh my god, we had the time of our lives. It was not only me volunteering and doing all those works, it was me enjoying all those concerts, looking at those people, and going to stalls and playing games and all that. And for me, I think it's very important because it shows that being different and being unique and being something that is not considered normal is completely acceptable, and coming from a society where being different is somewhat frowned upon,
Mhm.
and going to a society where it is accepted is very empowering. And not only for me, even for my friends, they were from Pakistan, and you know how homophobic Pakistan is, and them participating in a pride parade and they supporting makes a huge sense because um, it just shows that you don't have to uh, request permission to be yourself. You can just be unapologetically yourself. And yeah, that was very empowering for me.
I completely resonate to whatever you're saying, and I'm so glad that you got to experience all of these memories with so many people. I think previously I heard something about Puppies March or something like that. Would you kindly, would you like to share more on this topic?
Yeah, so during that Pride Parade, they had this special mini event called Puppy Parade. And what that basically was is they had this bunch of puppies dressed up in these cute outfits. And I was leading the puppy parade, which was like the most awesome thing that I ever did. It was really
Congratulations.
wholesome as well because everybody was everybody who came to the parade were like, oh, this is so cute, and they were clapping and all that, and I was leading that. So it was like, oh, I missed that moment.
It's just my heart is just melting just listening to whatever you're saying. So cute. Um, I'm
Yeah.
only I'm only asking you this because I'm a massive packer myself. I'm a hoarder of everything. I pack a lot of things when I'm traveling,
Mhm,
even to short distance places. Um, are there whether there were
mhm.
things that you actually packed for your exchange semester that you actually did not need at all? Were there certain things like that?
Yeah, for sure. I packed a bunch of t-shirts. Nobody told me that the university will give the students so many t-shirts. And whenever there was any university events, I'll just wear those university t-shirts. But I did bring the university t-shirts as a souvenir because,
Yeah.
I'll miss that. Even though I might not wear it, it's just a souvenir for me.
You can actually frame it and put it at the backside of your room or something like that, and it'll always remind you of your experience. The other question to Bisal is, I know it is one of the most enriching experience to be a global UGRAD student in itself, and I know one of the most enriching experiences is making friends within the program, and I'm sure there were other global UGRADers in your university as well, right? So how easy or difficult was it to become friends with them? Tell us a little bit about your journey, your experience on this.
For me, it was fairly easy because even before going to the US, I knew one global brother who was placed in my university. Um, so I knew that, and when I went there, so right at the airport, it was not only me who they picked up. They picked another global UGRADer that I didn't know. So we basically met, like we basically arrived in the US at the same time, and we started hanging out, and three of the other global graduates came late, but we knew we had a group, so it was very easy for me to be friends with them. And I was friends with them till the end of my semester. We were in a group, we were a tight knit group. We used to eat lunch together and all, even though like our classes were in different time, we would make sure we eat lunch or dinner at least. Yeah, so it's fairly easy.
Now let's talk a little bit
Thank you.
about the application process of the Global UGRAD itself. Um, the first thing is that I know
Hmm.
that the application process of the Global UGRAD program is quite difficult in itself because you have to write essays, you have to search for transcripts and recommendation letter, and it's quite tricky because you only have 1 month or so time on a short window period of time to complete all of
Hmm.
that. So, what checklist would you
Hmm.
suggest that applicants can make, to avoid that last minute rush or that last minute submission of application?
The first advice that I would like to give to all those prospective applicants is to read the program information clearly. Read everything that's available in the internet clearly. Read every information available on Fulbright Nepal and We're Learning website very clearly, because they have listed everything that you need to know, right? And after that, start early, because to write aces, to get all those recommendation letter, all that, it takes time. For me, it took more than 20 days just to finish those two aces. That's a lot, right? Only for two aces. So definitely start early, and start early, mostly on the aces and the recommendation letter, because some of the schools, some of the colleges, it might be hard to make them understand what the program is about, because it was for me to ask for a recommendation letter to tell them what the program is about was very hard. I had to write a letter, a 2-3 page letter describing everything about the program and all. So if they have to go through all that, then it will take time, especially on the aces part as well, because it's not like you're answering a question, it's basically telling them why you should be selected. And Global UGRAD is a prestigious program, it's very competitive. Just because you write two aces doesn't mean you get selected. So you need to make sure you write that essay, that proper essay, and make sure your application is complete as well. Because if you do it at the last minute, you won't have time. You definitely won't have time to do it. So definitely start early and focus on the aces and recommendation letter.
You just touched based on two things. The first one is don't submit your application late, start early, and the second one was a recommendation. Why did you? I just want to ask a follow up question to whatever you just said. Why do you think it was difficult for you to get a recommendation letter from your professor? Was it because they didn't understand about the program, or was it something else? And the other thing that I'd also like to ask you is, are you said that the essay is not the only determining factor for your selection to the program. Can you also tell what are other determining factors for the selection in the program itself?
So for me to make my professors understand about the program was hard, because they thought I was transferring. It was not exchange, it was transfer. So they thought I was transferring to a US university. So they were like giving me a hard time on that basis. So I had to, and plus I'm in a government school and nobody from my college has gone through a program like that. I'm their student. I am somewhat their responsibility. So like obviously they will act like a strict parent, so maybe that's why they were giving me a hard time. But at the end they did write me a good recommendation letter. I think the main factor for anyone to be selected is to have a complete application. If your application is missing something, it is incomplete. And incomplete application is means that you didn't give enough time to write that application, right? So having that application complete, having all those necessary stuffs in that application complete is the most important part. And even besides those essays, I think the recommendation letter plays a huge role. It shows how you are from other person's view. The interview, the Global UGAT interview plays a huge role as well, right? The interview. It's not only about the application, but application is the first step.
I'm so glad that you said that you were the only student in your school who received the Global UGRAD scholarship, and maybe in the future, when you're juniors as well, some aspiring students who want to apply to the program, they can actually take some help from you, and I'm sure that you will help them the best possible way you can. And joining to this remark that you just said, I want to ask you. I've seen a lot of people who have asked help from alumni throughout their application process, and some people even send their essays for alumni to review. Do you think it's a good way to receive feedbacks like this? Like this way? Is it a good way? What do you think?
I think it is a good way to know what other people think about your application, because you might think your application is perfect, but when you, for example, make other person proofread your essays, they might find something faulty, right? So I think it is a good way. Even I have like other applicants have sent me their essays now, and I have like given them suggestions regarding that. I think it is a good way to understand your own application. It's not only about writing essays, it's about self-exploration. You are self-exploring yourself throughout that application. You are finding out that one moment that made you think or act. So it's mostly about that, I think. And asking for alumni about the essays and help throughout the application process is necessary, so that your application is perfect. I think that helps you to eliminate all those faults in the application. Yeah.
All right, the million-dollar question is, did you send your application to some alumni before?
No.
I did
No,
do
I did
that as
not.
well.
I didn't do that either. I didn't have a lot of ideas, but I did have like half a dozen stories that I wanted to share. And the ACEs have word limit, right?
Yeah.
So to include half dozen ideas, half dozen stories within within those words was hard for me. So I which experience should I tell, which experience should I write. Not only the alumni, you can just ask help from your own family members as well, because it will help you with the application.
It's a good practice to actually give it for review for alumni, but in the process, you must and should not do is ask for their essays when they apply to the program. This will be pleasurizing, and it will have consequences. And like you said, it's really good to handpick some of the most relevant stories and then put it, instead of
Mhm.
mixing all of them and submitting 10 or 20 stories in your application itself.
Oh, and I
Um,
also want to add one more thing. Like you definitely ask for help for the alumni, but every alumni is different and unique, The reason that they got selected is different. It's not because of the same reason, because everybody has different experiences, everybody has different aces. So focus on your individuality, what makes you stand out of the crowd, because it's your essay, not ours.
Perfect. That was
Yeah.
spot on. That was really what we are all looking for.
Yeah.
Just be you while you're applying.
Yeah.
There's this other thing that I also want to touch.
Okay.
A lot of times I've seen people, and I myself have done this a lot of time. We doubt our strengths and capacities, and at certain point of time we underestimate ourselves, whether we're right fit for the program or whether we fit into the eligibility criteria, whether we get into the program itself or not. Um, and we will never know
Mhm.
once you apply to the program whether you're right fit or not. You just have to apply first and know whether you'll get it into or not. If someone is listening to us right now who is double thinking of whether or not to apply to the program or underestimating themselves, what suggestions would you like to give to that certain person underestimating themselves?
That is a really good question because I think all of the global UGRAD alumni were underestimating themselves in a certain aspect, right? But still, we did apply and we got selected. So I think that itself is very inspiring. You should apply for sure. You should definitely apply because we are young. If we don't make mistakes, if we don't fail right now, when will we? Right? Plus,
Right.
it's only for undergraduate students, so it's a limited period of time. So you only have limited period of time to apply because once you apply, then only you will know if you get selected or not. If you don't apply, then you might regret it later that you didn't apply. And this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's only for undergraduate students to spend one semester in the US, and it's also fully funded. So I definitely think you should apply. And underestimating ourselves comes from comparing ourselves to other people who have achieved much more than us, right? So I think regards to that, everybody has their own unique experiences, and just because somebody else has achieved more than you, even though you are the same age or in the same class, doesn't mean that your qualities doesn't matter, your values doesn't matter.
If you're someone who's underestimating, like Vishal said, don't underestimate yourself. Don't second guess. Don't no second thoughts. Just take a deep breath and submit that. Click on that submit button. Vishal, thank you so much for being here with us today and giving us your time. We're nearing the end of our conversation. Do you have anything to share, or some tips, or anything that you'd like to share to people who are listening or thinking of applying to the Global UGrad program this year or maybe the year later?
As I said earlier, I think this application process is more about self-exploration. So even if you're underestimating yourself, even if you're second guessing yourself, while you're applying, you might know your strengths. You might know that, even if you are underestimating it. And what I'll add more on that is this is a prestigious program, and to be part of this group, to be part of a global UGrad is once in a lifetime opportunity. So definitely do apply. I wish all of you the best of luck. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye bye, Vishal.
Bye. Thank you.